What's up, everybody? How's it going? This is NorbCam coming at you on this Tuesday for another Talk Talk. Haven't done one in a while. I was out of town this past weekend with my buddies on our little weekend yearly getaway. So we had a great time playing a lot of video games and just hanging out, chilling. But got back yesterday, getting back in the swing of things. So just wanted to connect with you guys. Internet was horrible out there. We did have Wi-Fi in the house, but man, anywhere outside the building was just like trying to go live out on the beach and it just wasn't happening. So glad to be connecting with you guys here again. Who do we got? We've got Bradley Brady fan. Tyler Parcher is talking about opening night tickets for the Mariners. Of course, they start their season this year. Major League Baseball does. Tani O'Shea. Mandy, what's up? Ben, Melanie, Sue. Where are you guys all watching this from? I always love to poll the audience and see where you guys are watching. What city, what state, or what city, what country. Let me know where you guys are coming from. Anyway, glad to be back. I'm looking forward to a day when I can walk without wearing gloves and hat and all that. It's coming, hopefully in the next month or two. But right now it's still a little windy, a little cold out here. There's still gloves and hat weather. Norman, big time. I'm sure for you guys who live around the area, Sunday night, especially when we were over in the ocean shores, boy, the winds were, it felt like a hurricane up there. It was like 35, 50 mile an hour winds with 60 mile an hour gusts and it hailing at times. That was pretty crazy, but not too bad right now. I think it's supposed to clear up a little bit, but it is still pretty cold. Patrick, what's up? Good to see you here. Amanda, this is not much want to see what Mariners game you're going to go to. Maybe PM we can meet up at one. I got to do a thing. We're talking about doing like a Mariners outing, fans for good, Seahawks fans outing or something like that. We're entertaining that idea. So be on the lookout. I think this would be a fun year to do it. Maybe a NorbCam outing at the Mariners. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, we'll be working on that. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about just the latest. There hasn't been a lot of Seahawks news, not a whole lot of movement, no big signings, changes in personnel. Feels like the free agency period's kind of dying down. And we're going to start getting into the, off-season workouts and that sort of thing. But I read a little bit more about how the Bobby Wagner deal went down as he did a press conference talking about it. Now, as I said before, I don't believe much in press conferences these days, but one thing about Bobby Wagner, he was very upfront about how he felt about the situation leaving Seattle. It was very disappointing to hear the way he described it, because obviously in a player negotiation, really is, and with his case, there's no agent, so it's just him and basically Schneider and Pete Carroll. And we all heard about how things went down, how Bobby Wagner tweeted out how he found out 10 years with the Seahawks, and this is how he found out that he was getting let go. Wasn't from them directly. And I think we all looked at that and wondered, man, how could they do Bobby Wagner wrong like that? He's been nothing but a team player and solid, never caused any issues on or off the field, never had contract holdouts or anything like that. And I remember Pete Carroll and John Schneider had their first press conference about it, I think back at the Combine, and they even admitted, they said, yeah, we dropped the ball on that one. But Schneider came up with, explained some kind of reasoning that, well, when you have an agent, normally they kind of buffer the discussions between the player and the organization. But I didn't really quite understand it, really. And Bobby Wagner apparently didn't either, the way he put it. He just said, yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. All they had to do is give me a phone call and tell me what's going on. Maybe they didn't want to tell me what was going on. Whatever it was. Whatever the end result was, is I don't think it would have changed anything. I don't think Bobby Wagner would have changed his decision. I don't think it would have changed. Obviously, the Seahawks already had their plan in place because they made that decision before Bobby. As far as where he would have gone, I still think because of the fact that he's from LA and the deals that he was offered, basically it came down to Baltimore and Los Angeles. Baltimore was actually going to pay him a little bit more in base salary, I believe, but the Rams were offering him more in terms of incentives to make more money should he perform above and beyond. So it became a pretty obvious decision that, and then you're joining the current reigning Super Bowl champ. So it wasn't much of a difference. I don't think the Seahawks calling him would have changed his decision to go there, but it would have left at least a better taste in his mouth to not then go on record publicly saying, he didn't understand why they did that. And now he's going to, he said a couple things, which is basically like he's going to, when it comes to those 2 games where he plays his former team, the Seahawks, he's going to definitely be letting them know that he's there, and certain things, which basically means he's circling those games on the schedule. And he's going to be, he's going to play as hard as he does anyway, but you know how it is when you're going against that former team, and if you have a beef with them or feel like you left on bad terms, well, it's just all the more reason for him to be maybe one step quicker, one hit harder against his former team, which is just great for us Seahawks fans, right? So I wish the Seahawks could have handled that differently, just so that it could have felt like, if he was going to go, let's leave on a good note. But as it is, that's how it left. It's because I kind of joked earlier saying, hey, maybe at some point Seahawks could shock us all and bring back Bobby with the surprising deal that they get worked out. Oh, that wasn't going to happen, especially after the way it was handled. So unfortunately, that's how Bobby feels about it. And then so you left scratching your head wondering what happened. How did the Seahawks not handle that better? How could that, again, one little phone call before a word got out. But that's how it went. So earlier today, I saw Russell Wilson dropped another video on his YouTube channel. This time, what did he say? What was the title? It was having fun with my new teammates or something like that. And it's basically like videos we've seen in the past few years that he's done with our receivers, a montage of him down in his field down in Southern California, throwing the ball, hanging out, joking, having a good time, playing basketball, all that stuff. All the same stuff that he's done with our receivers since he's had that place. You might as well take the same video and just change the edits with the players and keep everything the same. Pretty much it's what it looks like. But not gonna lie, I watched that, and of course, I watched it for the first 30 seconds, and just like his Welcome to Denver video, I couldn't watch anymore. I was like, ugh, it's making me sick. Couldn't handle it no more. I realized I don't know how long it's gonna be before I eventually do get over this, but obviously the more I keep seeing stuff, whoa, big mud bank back there. The more I see stuff with Russell and the Broncos, it's just it's just unnerving. And I don't know, it's always going to be those mixed emotions of, well, it was inevitable, or the Seahawks had something to do with it, or Russ had something to do with it, a lot to do with it. I think it's just going to take time before it ever gets to that point. And it'll be definitely easier if Russ doesn't succeed in Denver to feel like, okay, I'm okay with the way this worked out. But the more success they have over there, of course, the harder it's going to be to see anything that has to do with Russell Wilson talking about how great Denver is, loves this stuff. I don't know, but part of me was weird watching it too, is that I know a lot of people feel this way, that sometimes you always feel like when you're watching Russell, everything's just sort of premeditated, very scripted, very programmed, very PR designed, everything. And you see it now and you feel like, man, I don't know if Seattle was special at all. He's taking the same exact thing, and whatever we thought was special to us in Seattle, he's doing the exact same thing, saying the exact same stuff, just with different players in a different city. I mean, he could very well at some point leave Denver and go to some other city and play quarterback, and he'll do the same exact thing. And I guess you'll start to realize, I don't know how special it really was. I think he'll just take the same special PR formula and apply it to the next place he goes to. And you'll be just as special as the next special city or special group of fans. So we give him one credit. He is consistent. Just changes the colors, changes the names, changes the slogans, but it's still all the same formula. And I started to read some of the comments after I stopped watching the video. I was reading some of the comments. And, oh, we got tree down. That's from the wind yesterday. Got to climb over to down trees. Some places lost power yesterday. But yeah, I was reading a lot of the comments. Hey, Russell, I'm just so excited to see this. This is what we've been missing, a true leader, who is dedicated, professional, and has got the motivation and the will to do these things, to take the extra step to turn our team into a contending champion. This is what's been missing all these years. All I can say, I didn't respond to any of that stuff, but all I can say is, well, Russell did that every year for however long he's had that facility. And if he wasn't doing that at his own facility, he was doing it somewhere else. And still didn't translate into a Super Bowl in the last 5, 6, 7 years. So, no guarantee, folks. No guarantee, Broncos fans, because we've been through this ride pretty consistently. So I always thought it was odd. What was really weird, looking back at those throw arounds at his facility. Who he didn't have down there, which is really surprising, was Tyler Lockett. You ever notice that Tyler Lockett was never at those throwing camps during this time of the year? DK was all over that place, and a lot of the other receivers and tight ends. But for some reason, Tyler Lockett wasn't there, which is odd because Tyler Lockett is one guy he had the best connection with. Yeah, let's ride. That is his new saying. Broncos country, let's ride. Get used to hearing that at the end of every press conference. That's the new Go Hawks is now Broncos country, let's ride. But isn't that strange, though? I always wondered that. No one's ever really explained or asked or brought up that question or had it addressed to any of the players. Why was Tyler Lockett not at any of those? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't. I watched most of those over the past few years. I was wondering, where's Tyler? He's the best receiver. Why is he not down there playing catch with Russell? I was wondering about that. But, I always wonder about that question. Hi there.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing
Good. There's a little tree down across the path down there.
You in that way?
Oh, you did? Yeah. Little something.
All right.
Have a good one. Well, with all these things going on, one thing you definitely feel like with this season around the league and specifically with our own team is this is going to be one of the most interesting seasons we've had in a long time, and interesting in a different way, because normally it's interesting because we're always thinking, how far are we going to get in the playoffs this year? We're going to get past if we don't get past the divisional round, it's a failure of a season, right? That was kind of the sentiment around Seahawks fans the past 4 or 5 years. Everyone was I'm tired of only getting to the divisional round. I'm tired of being one and done. We've only won one playoff game in the last 5 years. We got to do better than this. Well, you can put that argument to bed. That is not the question Seahawks fans will be asking for. I posted a poll on Twitter yesterday asking what would the Seahawks record need to be in order for this to be a successful season. And man, did I hear a bunch of different answers. I had everything ranging from 0-17. We need to get Bryce Young in the first round of 2023 draft to 8-9, 9-8, or 5-12 with a rookie quarterback, but 11-6 with a veteran, and then a lot of just that sort of 500 or slightly above 500 would be considered successful. I don't know what you guys think. I'm going to talk about DK in a second, Christopher. But yeah, I know. I guess I asked the question to you guys while you're watching. What do you think? What would you consider when it's all said and done? What would you go and say? You know, I thought it was a pretty successful season because we were able to blah. You know, what would be good enough? And a lot of it obviously has to do with expectations. Do you already have this expectation like we're going to lose and suck and be below 500? So anything above 500 is going to be higher than your expectations? Or are they, much lower? Is this a season of basically throwaway, giveaway? Let's just try to get a better pick for next year and actually entertain the idea of trying to be as terrible as possible so that we can get the highest possible pick in the 2023 draft. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's hard for me to imagine that Pete Carroll and John Schneider would actually want that to happen, right? Not exactly a win forever philosophy to tank a season to get a better draft pick for the following year, especially when Pete Carroll's at his age. But, you know, I don't know. Do you guys even have playoffs as even a possibility? Because most of the guys I talk to close to me think that's just crazy, right? That even 10 wins or more is crazy. And that the idea of even making the playoffs is nuts. One thing, though, is that the NFC feels like the AFC just got majorly upgraded in every aspect. And it's the NFC that possibly has gotten weaker as a result. The Rams aside, of course. But, you know, you look at the Packers, can Aaron Rodgers still be as good? Can he still be an MVP without Devontae Adams? Will Tampa Bay, with Brady coming back, is he still going to be, you know, the same guy to lead them to the promised land, even though they've had changes of their own? Players that are no longer there that was on that Super Bowl team. You know, 49ers, big question marks there. Is this the year of Trey Lance? Or is Jimmy G going to come back again for another year? Hard to imagine they would, given the way it ended. But it sounds like it's not out of the realm of possibility. And then within our own division, you got the Cardinals, who they're hard to figure out. What the heck's going on with those guys? Chandler Jones isn't there. I guess that's a good thing. Bad thing for Russell Wilson since he went to the AFC West. So, I don't know. Is it still possible that Seattle could still get some wins against their division rivals? Maybe not the Rams, but is it possible the 49ers and the Cardinals that we could have some kind of shot? It's hard to know. It's hard to predict when you don't know who your quarterback is. If we knew it was going to be Drew Lock, we can kind of just go, all right, get your mind wrapped around Drew Lock is the man. We'll have to live and die by what he can do and hope that his recent failures in Denver were more of a product of coaching and lack of support than that he's an actually horrible quarterback. That's very wishful thinking, of course. But I still have people saying we should still make a deal, make a play for Gardner Minshew. He's better than anything Drew Lock has to offer, and that he was given a bad situation in Jacksonville, and that he's a better quarterback than what he's shown so far because he wasn't surrounded with decent weapons and put on a bad team. That's the old argument, isn't it? It's the Matt Stafford argument, which I was proven wrong this past year. I said in my music video, I said Matt Stafford is an overrated QB. Didn't think it was going to get done. Was hoping he wouldn't get it done. Of course, he got it done. And so one could defend and say, well, Matthew Stafford, he's a perfect scenario of a quarterback who was stuck in a bad team for years in his case. You take him out of there, put him on a winning team with good weapons and a good defense, and all of a sudden they're Super Bowl champs. Well, obviously that's what Russell is hoping to get, moving to the Broncos. That's what Brady got, moving to the Bucs. But what will happen with Drew Lock moving here? Is it the opposite? Is it a good team with a bad quarterback coming in here? Or is it a good quarterback going to an okay team? We're about to find out. It's going to be a, hopefully, just watchable season. I want us to at least be competitive in these games and not get blown out every weekend. So now brings us to the discussion about DK Metcalf. Obviously, that's kind of the top news right now in terms of players on the watch. DK Metcalf. He's got 1 year left on his deal. This is the time, this is the year when deals get done. And obviously, the DK's timing couldn't be better. Whether he deserves it or not, he's bound to make minimum $20 million a year, probably closer to 25. And if Seattle's going to want to keep him and retain him for his services, they're going to have to offer him something in that range. And the question is, if you're John Schneider, Pete Carroll, do you do it? My feeling is, yes, you should. Now, is he the best receiver on the Seahawks? No. Tyler Lockett is still the best receiver on the Seahawks. But Tyler Lockett's still under contract. He's still going to be here for a couple more seasons. We don't have to worry about him yet. We can worry about how do we keep the two of them for now at a later point. But we don't have to worry about that right now. What we do have to worry about is DK Metcalf and locking him in for the foreseeable future. And my argument is this. DK Metcalf obviously has got his issues, right? We've seen it. If you've probably better than any fans out there who've seen, all they've seen is the highlights. They've seen the amazing thing he does, the chase down of Buda Baker from a couple of years ago, the speed, all that. And that's all great. But they didn't see a lot of the miscatches. They didn't see the tantrums on the sideline probably. They didn't see, the body language and the missed blocks and the footwork that often wasn't there. But the upside to what DK could become is huge. It's not very often that Seattle gets a true number one type receiver in their midst and have the ability to keep one for a while. Because we really have not had a number one like that in so many years. There's another tree down. Right there, little tiny one, busted off right here from the wind. Got another hiker coming this way. What's up, Kaijin? Christopher says he likes the satellite tantrums. He means it better than the robot we got with Wilson. Well, I agree. You want to have the passion. And sometimes I feel like that's a good way of putting it, right? We've always heard is Russell Wilson a robot? I think he does go through, I think the problem with Wilson is just how real did any of it feel? Like I said earlier, I feel like now everything he said was just sort of a line he would have said to anybody. But I hear Wagner talk, and I feel like that's a guy being real about things. He's not just saying things people want to hear. And you believe it, and it hurts to hear the truth. But Russell, I don't know about you guys. Going back to Russell for a second. Most players who have been on a team for a long time, especially as long as he has, they'll usually write a very long goodbye, thank you, farewell post, right? Whether it's a Twitter post or they take a newspaper article out to thank the city and the team. Russell never did that. And I'm curious, there's so many, it's amazing to me how many Seahawks fans are so forgiving and supportive of Russell Wilson leaving and wishing him luck with the Broncos, as I saw in that video today. So many comments. Of course, who's going to go on there and trash him, right? On his personal page, personal YouTube channel. But I don't know. As much as I probably read it and think this is all some scripted thing that him and his agent came up with, it just sounds really good. And, you know, I'd probably be going, he doesn't mean any of it. I'm surprised he never did that. That he didn't write the long farewell thank you to Seattle. Instead, it was, what did he say? Seattle, I love you. Forever grateful. And that's it. We got a three or four word tweet as our goodbye love letter. We never got the love letter. And I think as much as I would have seen through it, I'm surprised he didn't do that. I kind of was disappointed that he didn't at least take that minimum step to send that off. Maybe he will at some point. Who knows? I'm a little disappointed that didn't happen. But back to DK. So DK, when have we had a receiver of that type, body type? We really haven't. Sidney Rice, maybe? It was a big target. You know, Chris Matthews was kind of a flash in the pan, 2-game guy who stood out and became a temporary hero, but came back the next year and wasn't even good enough to make the team. Such a shocker. But this is the kind of guy that you just don't want to let go. It's so hard to find these types of his ability. Now he's got to find a way to utilize them. I found it odd that all the time that DK and Russ spent time together throwing at his field down in California, down in Mexico, and him teaching him how to swim and all this stuff, and yet see, a lot of times DK was mad they wasn't getting the ball thrown to him enough. So what caused that? Was that a Russell thing? Was that a coordinator thing? Was it a Pete thing? When it comes down to it, when the ball is snapped, when we get to the line of scrimmage, there could be any number of plays that the coaches want Russ to do, but he makes the final call. He could check to whatever he wants to check to and go, if I want to throw the ball to DK, I'm going to call a slant, audible to a slant, and I'm getting him the ball no matter what. He just has to go up and get it. And yet we didn't seem to see it enough. The connection wasn't there like it was with Tyler Lockett. So, could that be different with a different quarterback here? Could it be different with a system quarterback? A Drew Lock type who's not shorter and has to run around, but the guy who can stand in there and deliver a quick on-time ball. Could that have been the missing ingredient to all this, to getting DK multiple options? Well, we're about to find out. But I think we need to pay the piper. I mean, you cut Bobby Wagner, you know, we have no more stars left on this team, aside from Quandre Diggs. He's the only really, well, and Will Dissly. But aside from that, we really don't have any guys we're paying big money to. So I'd say if you're going to invest in somebody that will get the fan base excited, for nothing else. Actually, it's for a lot of other things. So he's got a great upside. If you can harness his attitude to where he's not a distraction, but rather a motivation to the team. And if they can find ways to get him the ball, I've said it so many times over the last 2 years, just get DK the ball, make it a 5-yard pass, and then let him do the rest. You don't need to throw the ball 20 yards in the air, as we've seen not work out, especially at the end of the season last year when we played the Rams. But get him medium passes and let him do the rest. He's so big and strong, he should be able to run guys. And what I've seen too is DK on the deep ball, the guy can jump out of the gym. The guy's got a huge vertical leap. But when it comes to high pointing the ball and jumping up for it, like in a 50-50 jump ball situation or a Hail Mary, he's not very good at it. He jumps too early. I remember that against the Minnesota game. There was a deep ball thrown to him, and he easily could have gotten it. And he jumped way too soon and dropped it, or didn't get his hands on it. It could have been picked off. But I've seen that several times where he jumps and his timing's off. So he's got the skills, but maybe he needs to work on that. Just throw a bunch of high-pointing Hail Mary balls in the offseason during spring training. Just put that robot automated ball thrower on high arc, like a punt, and have him high point and jump for that ball. I'd run that drill a bunch of times. Get his timing down to where he can high point the ball and outleap guys like he should. But it doesn't do any good if you can jump 48 inches, but you jump 48 inches 1 second too soon. Then you're jumping lower than me. I could jump higher than that if the timing is off. So, but you got to bring him in. And like I said, in addition to the skill set and the potential that he could become, it's something for the fans. Imagine how we feel right now. We lost Russell. We lost Bobby Wagner. What other guys on the team do you even, if you were to poll the general Seahawks fan and say, name a Seahawk who's on the player on the Seahawks roster, and you'd have to think the names that would come up would be Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, right? Those are your only two stars left. Outside of that, it's a bunch of guys who are on the rise, could become great. Quandre Diggs, is great. I'm glad they got him done. Jamal Adams, of course, is, well, we know that situation. Yet to be determined whether that move 2 years ago was worth it or not. But you got to keep it for the hope for the future. And plus, if you do get that quarterback in here, whether it's the one we have now or somebody we draft next year or somebody we get this year that we're not expecting, he's got to throw to somebody. Tyler Lockett will be there, but DK, I'd sure be excited if I was a quarterback knowing I could throw to DK Metcalf. Especially if those guys can have some time together. I don't know what Drew Lock is doing right now. I don't know if he's throwing the ball to any of his receivers right now, doing the Russell Wilson thing. He doesn't have his own personal field with his own personal logo down in Southern California. So he's going to have to probably go to some high school muddy field and throw it around, on his own that way. But the point is, well, everybody can be doing something. So if it is Drew Lock, he's going to have to step up his game. He's got to learn a few more Washington cities. I don't know if you guys saw the video. He did some kind of a funny little interview, like, how well do you know Washington State? And asked him to name as many cities in Washington that he could. I think he got like 5, and that was it. So that's not bad for a guy not from here and didn't know he was going to be here until a few weeks ago. I mean, I couldn't name 5. I'm sure I couldn't name 5 Colorado cities if I had to. Boulder, Denver, Cheyenne. I think I'm stuck there. So I would do worse than him if it was on the spot. Name the cities from your state that you just ended up at. Oh, but then Joel brings up, what about getting multiple draft picks for DK? So here's the thing. Draft picks are great, right? Or we hope they are. And you assume when you have them, they're going to translate into great talent that will become awesome for your team in the years to come. But there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that Seattle's going to scout out the right players and get the right people. As we've seen them fail over the years, they've gotten lucky on some and they've missed horribly on others. And so just because you have more doesn't mean you're going to get some better options than what you already have. Hey, this is this guy. He waves at you every time he walks by. Good morning. You too. see, he runs a long way. He jogs every day. I usually see him in my car on the main road out here in Pishovisky. But I've never seen him actually this far. He goes a long way. Always waves at the cars or the pedestrians as he goes by. Bundle of positivity. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's see. Side says, do not let them trade 14 and 16. Your point is that character doesn't matter and football runs on pure business logic? If so, you would be wrong. Character versus pure business logic. Well, you can't go strictly on business. You can't go strictly on stats because you can have problem guys on your team. And I guess the hard part is, fortunately, I think we've been pretty good with our character guys. DK, of course, has had some questionable moments of his attitude. You know, was it a distraction during times when he felt his frustration? Definitely was a factor in that Rams loss at home in the wild card last year, or I should say 2020. Yeah, that was a horrible game. It led to a pick six, forcing a bubble screen, the DK that was it was red all the way. But I do wonder, you know, when it comes to all the players that, you know, like Russell switching teams. In a few years, we're going to find out if this move paid off for the Broncos. You know, who got the better deal of it over time. Doesn't matter what. I mean, they're going to have to fork out a bunch of money next year after this year's done for this next contract, if not sooner. And you know, they're in for the long haul here. And it's going to take 3 or 4 years to really determine whether it's paid off for them and that he was everything that the fan base hoped for. But it goes back to the draft. I mean, it's the same thing. You're taking a chance on somebody. And just because somebody's a high-ranked player, number 9, you know, all eyes will be on that highest draft choice the Seahawks have had in years. You know, will they take somebody at 9, or will they trade back like they usually do to get more picks? We saw that big draft move that happened over the weekend. Yesterday between the Saints and the Eagles, trading draft positions. I don't have it in front of me here, but obviously both teams looking to potentially for that future quarterback, a lot of jockeying for, you know, higher position versus more picks down the line. So we'll see what their move is to be. And I still, like I said, a lot of people feeling like Seattle should make a play for Gardner Minshew to bring him out here. And I can see that being so exciting just because he's a Washington State guy, and just the excitement of a local person coming in and being even competing for the quarterback job would get people pretty excited for the fans. But, yeah, we'll see. But I do think if there's a guy you got to keep at a time, and yeah, you have to pay him when the stock is high. You have to overpay for DK Metcalf to keep him here. And it's just the way the market is. It started with all the contracts that started happening with Christian Kirk, and then Devontae Adams, and then Tyreek Hill. I can see DK was just watching this. It's like watching the stock market. As your stock is just rising to an epic high. He must have just been smiling with diamonds glimmering in his eyes, dollar signs floating out of his ears. Because he knew, you know, he was going to get paid, but boy, getting paid like never before. So he's going to be set no matter where he goes. So that's just a question of which team's going to put up the most for him, and where does he ultimately really want to go? Is he happy here in Seattle? He's never going to tip it off, because there was a tweet that said multiple teams are inquiring the Seahawks about DK, and he tweeted back saying, I haven't heard anything. So if that's to be believed, then we've been down this before, right? We heard this before. Multiple teams inquiring about Russell Wilson. Oh, no, we're not shopping our quarterback, and then see what happens. And everybody was hush hush on that one. So is DK playing the game, or is he truly really doesn't know about any deals that are being offered by other teams right now? I sure hope Seattle keeps him. If they let DK go, it's going to be a very solemn feeling here to see Seattle lose their quarterback, their all-pro linebacker, middle linebacker, and then lose one of the best potential receivers we've had in a long time. To let him go, I think that would just, people would be pissed. Draft picks or not, so there's no guarantee those guys are going to pan out. So it's a tough deal. I guess I just have less faith that we're going to necessarily get something back in return. Mostly because when's the last time you really got excited about the way the Seahawks drafted somebody? For the first choice. I think every year it's been sort of a, really? Right, D. Eskridge, really? Jordan Brooks, really? Rashad Penny, really? Jermaine Ifedi, really? I just don't want to have more reallys coming up. I'm sure we will be surprised and shocked when it comes down to it in the draft, but sometimes you just gotta stick with what you have instead of the hopes of getting something better. It's not always, grass ain't always greener on the other side. Anyway, I appreciate you guys jumping on here and hanging out for a little while. Definitely be talking more about things as the weeks ahead come and as we get down to the draft. Just to remind you guys, I'm doing a giveaway on Discord. So if you haven't joined Discord yet, do it. I'm giving away a little NorbCam merch on Friday. So all you got to do is join Discord. It doesn't cost you anything. You can just join, and then you got to just react to the giveaways channel, and I'll put you in the drawing, and they'll do a drawing on Friday. So go check it out. Discord.gg/Seahawks and enter to win. All right. Well, I'm out of here, folks. You guys have a great rest of your, what is it today? Tuesday. And we'll talk to y'all later.